Hi, I'm Chris Walis, and as part of a Dark Arbor Lodge group effort, I did this guy. It's a gorilla mask with a moving mouth. So this video's going to be a follow-up to our live feed, which showed us sculpting, and this is the rest of what I did to get this guy finished. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get some information. I hope it helps you a little bit. So this is where it was at the end of our live feed sculpting session at Dark Arbor Lodge. I continued and did a little bit more work the next morning, and it was coming along, but I really wasn't that happy with it. Just the forms weren't balancing out the way I wanted, no matter what I did. So I went back in, smoothed it all out, and started all over again. I felt a lot more confident about the basic forms. So I went ahead and continued the sculpt, which was fun. I liked this one. And once I had layered in the detail, this is wet water-based clay. Once I had the detail worked into it and to the level that I wanted, I sat back, took a look at it, and said, yeah, this is kind of where I want it to be. It's pretty much a basic gorilla, definitely the throwback style that I was looking for. So once it was all ready to go, the first thing I did was to cut off the back of the head, the sagittal crest, because I wanted this to be a one-piece front mold only as I was going to build up the rest. So once that was cleaned up, it was time for a mold. I built a quick clay wall and then went ahead and did the mold, which was a bit of a problem because my first batch of hydrocal had gone bad and set up in just a couple of minutes as opposed to 10 minutes or whatever. So I had to run out to the ceramic supply and get another bag real quick to finish it up. And it was just a couple of layers, and then I added some hemp on it for strength. Not really needed, but I just sort of do it regardless. Smooth it all out as best I could. Really a waste mold. I'm not going to make a lot of these. And then it was time to pull everything out, which came out, fortunately, fairly easily. Cleaned out the mold, and then painted in black latex in a number of layers, slushed it in. I added some canvas reinforcement in the jaw and lips, and then it was time to foam it up. Mannequin head in a paper bag, foam it up. It popped right out, came out very easily. And then I worked the mask out, and it came out pretty good. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely workable. So then I drew my line as to where I was going to make my cut, made my cut, finding the foam a little bit soft at this point, softer than I wanted it. And so once I had started hollowing it out, I figured I better reinforce it a little bit, so I cut a piece of EVA foam, heat formed it, and then glued it in place, which did stiffen it up a good bit. And then it was a matter of just hacking out the foam for the upper palate and making room, and then making the interior of the jaw, which was, again, all EVA foam, heat formed, and the inside, you can just see rubber bands in there. I did shoot some video at the time, just to sort of give you an idea of where it was then, and this is it. I think you can see in this video a little bit more about where the mask is at this point. You can see I've cut out the eyes, the nostril holes, open the mouth. So the original mask was solid through here. I've made my jawline cut here. I've also trimmed out just a little bit here to make sure the mouth could close all the way. So that was my jaw and mask. This is hinged very simply. I don't even know if you can see it. It's just a bit of nylon cord, actually, not even rope. I usually use rope, but I don't have any. This mask is being made of leftovers. So then
The inside of the mouth was done with various EVA foam, mostly done on a bit of a belt sander, a little bit of grinding on it, glued into place carefully so that it all fit. Now I have to make sure that there's room down in pockets, essentially, to make sure the larger teeth close well. In terms of closing the mouth, it's just made these little clips. This is just some wire, bent wire down here. You can see on the inside, hopefully you can see, it's just loops, just little loops. And let's see if I can get a little closer here and make it look. And so you can see they're just little hooks and with rubber bands on them. I'm using very small silicone hair bands in there. But it's just enough to give the mouth that open and close ability. So that's where it's at right now. What I'm going to do is go back in and I'll be doing some build up to create the rest of the mouth. You see here I've had to add another layer of EVA foam to raise this level so my chin sits right on there nicely. This EVA foam, and this is just the regular work mat foam, I had to reinforce the jaw because my foam is a little weak on this one and irregular. So I used some EVA foam, which works fine. It's got a little bit of flex in it, but that'll be fine too. So that's basically where it's at right now.
It turns out the jaw still wasn't strong enough, so I reinforced it with some aluminum bar. Then it was time to paint everything up. I painted the interior of the mouth first, all acrylics, very quickly, quite sloppily done actually, but it was enough. And when I was happy with that, it was time for the skin, which was basically a mix of just raw umber and black, with the black was just used for shadowing. And then it was time to build the back of the head. I'm doing it this way for a more comfortable fit, and I'm just building a sheet foam back of the head, reinforcing it, the attachment point with cloth and glue, building a sagittal crest out of foam. And once I was happy with it, I knew it was time for hair. I had one big piece of fur to use, and I used it all in one piece. I didn't cut it apart. I cut a bunch of divots, started in the middle of the forehead, worked my way back and around using contact cement for all the adhesive, and wrapping the fur all the way around to the front, which worked really well. I was surprised. A little bit of a challenge for me and kind of fun. It's only glued at the top of the jawline so that the lower jaw is free. I used Canicolon for the hair punching, which is, starts very dense next to the material fur and works its way lighter. Here you can see the right half is punched, the left half is not. So you can see there was a fair amount of punching around the edges just to sort of make it a little more even. And then it was a matter, it did get a little bit of paint on it, some spray paint for the brown, and literally some white primer for the sort of white on the jawline. And then it seemed like there was more I could do, but really it was pretty much done for now. I may go back and touch it up, but it's pretty much done. So I hope this video has given you some insight into my process on doing just a simple moving mouth head like this guy. All right, I think there's enough information there that you could probably pull it off yourself if you haven't done it before. Ape Suit Cinema on Facebook is a great place to go for information if you want to attempt this and have some questions. But hopefully you've got enough here to give you a start. It's fun stuff to do, and who doesn't want to be a gorilla?